Welcome to Sunday. It is July the 31st, and it is late. Very late. I don't normally do episodes this late, but as I do Sunday episodes consistently, I knew I was going to be putting something out today. And for today, I would like to again go back to really trying to help those of you who are attempting to project or to shift for the first time. And I think it is always helpful for me, as someone that's done this for an extremely long time, to talk about my first experiences, the things that I was afraid of, and perhaps these are things that you will be able to identify with. I always feel like the best way to help those of you that are, maybe struggling or maybe afraid, may have fears, is to talk about my own fears and my own struggles with astral projection and shifting, as I have had them. It's interesting. Just because you get to a certain point where you can, shift. I don't know that I can shift on command, but pretty much if I put my mind to it, well, lately I haven't been able to. Lately I've been kind of in this place where I haven't really been shifting. I've been going through some experiences, very short ones, nothing really that significant, but I just want those of you who are wanting to shift or wanting to astral project to know that I have my own struggles. I have my own times when things aren't necessarily happening. In fact, today sometime this afternoon, I had made an attempt and nothing happened. I fell asleep. And again, this is coming from someone who has been astral projecting since they were 9 years old. I don't want you to think just because you see someone on the internet or whatever that says, oh, I can do it anytime I want. I mean, I don't know that person. I don't know what their experiences are, so I can't necessarily comment and say whether they are or they aren't, because I'm not there and I'm not inside that person and I have no idea what this person is doing. I can only comment on myself, and I can tell you, as someone who's experienced, that it doesn't always work. And that's perfectly okay. But I know that there are so many of you, because I've seen you in the comments, I've seen it in the subreddit, I have seen it in other parts of the web where people, are struggling. They really want to achieve this, and I can understand why. I understand. I mean, it's amazing to be able to leave this 3D world and to even have a glimpse of what's beyond it is just an amazing thing. And I frankly, I feel blessed every single day to be able to do what I do, even when I am struggling. But again, I want to talk about my first time with astral projection and with shifting. And I hope that, again, I think my hope usually is with this is for those of you who are just curious, about what these experiences like. It gives you something to kind of listen to and to picture and to kind of go on this journey that you might not normally go on. And for those of you who may be struggling to get to the point where you're either projecting or you're shifting, it gives you an opportunity to hear, hey, you're not alone. Even people that do this regularly, like myself, struggle. But so in regards to astral projection, and that's the first thing I'll talk about, I have talked about my first experience before. I don't mind talking about it. For those of you who are afraid of astral projection, I will tell you that the first time it happened to me, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified that first time. I was so scared. I mean, I had a friend who told me that this was possible. I did not believe that friend at the time. This was the late 70s. There was no internet back in the late 70s. So I really didn't have a place to go online and, type in and say, hey, is this possible? You couldn't. There was no Google. I couldn't Google and say, hey, is astral projection possible? Is my friend that's telling me this? Is he being honest with me? Is he not being honest? I just had to try it for myself. I had no idea. And the first time it happened, again, for those of you who are struggling, and I will continue to emphasize this point, people always ask me, what are the steps? What are the things that get you to be able to astral project? And I always continuously tell them there is no magical formula. You can go out there, you can listen to people who are going to tell you that you can get this in a week or 2 weeks, or they can guarantee you that for a certain amount of money they can get you there. You might get there, but more or less from what I see on the internet, when I read people's experiences, most of the times they'll listen, they'll get like really hyped up, like, oh, okay, I can really do this. And then they sit down and they try it. And as I say, it works for some, but for many, they just get frustrated because they're like, this isn't working. And my response to that is that, first of all, I think that a lot of people don't have a lot of patience with all this stuff. And I think that it requires patience. It requires consistency, just like anything else. I mean, for those of you who even watch sports, do you think that a person who is a professional athlete, even if they are talented, like let's say a basketball player, do you think that that person walks out on the court suddenly and they can do all the things you see them do on television? Or, for those of you who are in other countries and you watch soccer per se, do you think that your favorite soccer player or football player, do you think that that person just walked out onto the field and they were able to do all the amazing things that they do? Or did it require practice? And I don't understand why people don't think that in order to get or to improve with something like astral projecting or shifting, that you have to put in the time to be able to do it. Again, I'm just being honest with you. I'm not here to, request money from you or, to say, hey, if you give me this much money, I can guarantee that you're going to get to this point. I'm not here to do any of these things. I'm here just to tell you the truth. And the truth of the matter is that there will be some people who catch on very quickly to this. And then there are going to be some people that it's going to take time, and there are going to be others that are going to give up and walk away from it. By the way, none of these things are wrong. Regardless of what you decide to do, it is your personal decision. But again, I'm just here to tell the truth, at least my truth. And what I'm telling you is that many times this requires time. Now, when I first felt that sensation, when I felt the tingling going through my body, I was in complete shock. And again, it was because I wasn't expecting this to happen. And this is what I'm trying to tell you, is that I had no expectation. And I know it's hard not to have an expectation. It's hard not to sit and imagine and think to yourself, well, I'm going to, if I can do this, it's just going to be so amazing. And I can go to all these different places and I can travel and, you're very excited. And I understand all those things, right? But I'm telling you, the first time it happened with me, I wasn't expecting it to happen. I was just in a relaxed state. That's it. And then I felt myself, you know, lighter than air, and I felt myself emerging from my body, and I felt myself floating upwards, again in complete and utter denial of what was happening. I was like, this is not happening. This is not happening. But it was happening. And I couldn't see because I was so afraid. I couldn't open my astral eyes. So I was, I guess, technically astral blind at that point. But it was because I was terrified. I was afraid. And I felt myself hit the ceiling. I turned around. I was flailing my arms like I was drowning. I was screaming. And then essentially, after a few moments, there was a true moment of tranquility. I'll always remember that moment where I stopped struggling and I just relaxed. And I was floating there above my body, I would imagine. I wasn't seeing, but I could sense that. And then suddenly, after that moment of tranquility, I was pulled back in. And that was my first time. Now, I could have said after that first time, and as terrifying as it was to me, that I'm not going to ever do that again because I'm too scared. But I wasn't destined for that, I don't think, because after that, things began to happen kind of in a random way. They were happening randomly. And again, I probably could have stopped it if I really, really, really had put my foot down and said, no, I don't want to do this as a teenager. But it was fascinating to me. And even though I was still afraid, I kept going. But I want you to understand, from that point to the age of, I'll be 54 in the next week and a half or so. From that point to the age of, 54, this is how long I've done this. So I didn't just walk into astral projection. I didn't just say, okay, one day I'm going to do astral projection and suddenly I was really good at it. It took years and years and years to find my footing. Now, with the shifting part of this scenario, this was something that caught me completely by surprise. I was just looking at some of the notes I made back in 2019 when I was first really starting this channel, but the shifting thing started before then, and I didn't know. Again, I had no idea that this was even a thing. I first thought I was going crazy. Thank goodness I have a mom that is amazing who assured me that I was still rational and that I wasn't going crazy. And again, this was after having all the astral projection experiences I had had before. But this was so completely different because I felt as if I was walking around in a body. And that first time when I shifted, I literally felt as if I pushed through to this sort of rec room. And I remember the white floor and the pool tables and the kids were playing pool. And I was just ranting and raving going, what the, F or heck is going on here? I was just lying down. I closed my eyes and now I'm suddenly here. I'm suddenly in this place, wherever this place was. And people just kind of looked up at me kind of briefly and they just kind of gave me this look like, okay. And then they went back to playing pool or whatever they were doing. And then eventually I went over to this kid who seemed to be kind of looking at me, and I spoke to him and I said, what the heck is going on? And I don't remember much about him giving an explanation because I don't think he really did. He was just listening to me. And that was my first experience with shifting. Again, it was something that was completely unexpected. It had begun with me seeing things when I closed my eyes when I was tired, but I did not know that it would lead to me actually going to places. I thought I would continue to see these visions of places, of things that I didn't necessarily recognize, of oceans, forests, cities, things like that. I thought, this will be interesting to check this stuff out, but I had no idea that I would actually begin to interact with people in these different realities. And it went from there. But again, that was the starting point. That was the beginning. Since that time, I've continually done it. And there is still a lot that I do not understand and I'm still learning. But again, I think the theme what I'm really trying to tell you guys is, try not to be so hard on yourself, and try not to get so frustrated with all this stuff. Know that even someone like myself that's been doing this for some time, I had a beginning. I started somewhere, and I just continued to work at it. And I continue to work at it to this day. I always talk to you guys about this. I tell you, things with the DR, the desired reality. These are things that I'm still working towards. I started simple and I'm building on that, but I'm still learning. And, if you really want to be able to accomplish this stuff, both astral projection and shifting, you have got to be patient. If you're not patient with yourself, then I don't know what to tell you. You really have to be willing to put in the time. I hope this is helpful. I hope that this will help to motivate. Thank you so much for coming on this Sunday journey with me. And until next time, take care.